Uh, this, like I said, probably allows me to understand if you all can hear me clearly and see what I'm going to present particularly. And also will give us a few interesting insights at the end of this poll into some shared difficulties or some shared problems that we are facing. So thank you all so much for your time. And then let me just quickly begin with thanking the dignitaries who are here, the industry leaders who are present among us, from Kshitij to Vinay Gupta sir, to Madam being present here, to Amrinder Sahu. It's absolutely an honor to be here at ILDC. The Land Development Conference particularly is very exciting me because it's an opportunity to speak about something for which wars have been fought, for which uh, people have been designing for a very, very long time. And for eons, it has been at the core of most discussion. And finally, bringing it to a conference and discussing it with the respect and the outlook that it should be given. So I am Suryash and I'm representing Land Main Fund. We are an industrial real estate organization working deeply across Chennai and most of its high growth suburban belts. The intention was that before I go deeper into today's theme, I want to pause on the phrase that we're discussing today, right? Digitizing, land governance, PropTech, role in achieving transactional certainty. And for me, all these words carry extreme weight, and given the fact that we work so closely with various stakeholders of land, we work so closely with people on the entire spectrum. There can be landowners who own a few vigas or a few square feet of land, to those who are landowners or land bankers themselves who own probably hundreds of acres of land. And the first one I'd like to begin is digitizing, right? Which is the way we see digitizing is it's not simply scanning of documents or shifting files from one computer to another. Rather, it is in our way of perceiving a way to immortalize data that we already have, in the way we can bring it into a structure where it is searchable, where it is probably able to answer a few questions, and more importantly, where it's reliable. That's what we are looking at digitizing, right? The second word, land, the word that is probably closest to all of us sitting here, and the most relevant in today's context. Given the fact that we are transitioning from becoming an economy that was primarily based on primary industries, we moved directly into tertiary industries, and then now we are moving into this or ushering into this journey of manufacturing-driven economy. So land effort has become more relevant in context than ever before, and inheritance, identity, livelihood, sentiment, and security. These are the few words that most people will associate with land, especially given in the context of South India, where land is supposed to be a gift that you give your children when they are born, you give your daughter when she's getting married, you give it to the newborn when they are arriving into the family. That's the kind of sentimental attachment that people have for land. And given the fact that functionally we are now moving into an era of manufacturing where factories, warehouses, logistics parks, economic corridors are becoming the bottom of everyone's tongue. So land therefore is not just a physical parcel, but the entire gamut of things. I will talk about governance, given the fact that we have dignitaries from a plethora of areas, and you probably are more right or more suited to talk about how to create institutions, standards, and rules. But from a governance perspective, how we can eliminate confusion and unlock speed. Now, that is the key layer I believe that governance has to, at the end of the day, achieve. And coming to PropTech, which in my and that which I've highlighted the most when I'm talking about it, because this is going to become the enabler. This is going to become the creator of the future we are talking about. That innate sense of surrender to the technology, that we can trust it, that we can believe in it, that if technology is showing it that sense of convenience, whatever brings that, whether it's a digital platform, whether it's pen and paper, anything that allows us to achieve that, for me, that is PropTech. That is proper technology. It doesn't have to be GPS systems or drone photogrammetry. We don't have to talk about LIDAR or GIS integration. How do we ensure that this convenience, comfort, and sense of certainty is created? That to me is property technology, and that is what I'm here to probably share. Industry beyond realizing that here are things that ChatGPT or any other LLM can share with you, but here is something that someone from the industry can share with you. More often than not, there are people who have purchased lands, and after a point of time, they would have recognized that there are some legal hassles, there are some nitty-gritty that they did not look through, there are some gaps in the process that is not allowing them to use the land for the final use or consume the land in the manner they wanted it to be consumed to. And that becomes the gap that we're talking about. In fact, time and again in our journey with Grand Bantam Infra, we've seen various people who have bought lands and then have recognized that the research was not enough, the due diligence did not go through financially, legally. Many things are still not on paper, not trackable. And how do we create that continuation of land? How do we ensure that the continuity of land is there and more importantly that a certainty is achieved? That becomes a very critical part. In fact, it happens many number of times that in the ease of doing business parameters, one of the key parameters is the ease of finding land. And that is when players, either public or private, or in the partnership domain where public and private are working together, become extremely relevant because one might understand and we all might generally look at the headline saying that XYZ company has given a lakh drop, 2 lakh drop, 5 lakh jobs have been created, this factory has created so much economic movement in that particular micro market. So the question that I beg to ask is that, but where is all of the infrastructure being built on? Right? It's completely being built on land, and that is where it's becoming even more critical to be sure of what we are promising and what we are achieving through this processes that we are setting. From a transactional perspective, land is not just a signature or a sale deed. We all agree that there are a lot of things that come before the transaction itself, which is that sale deed, and there are n number of things that might come post the sale deed or post the transaction itself, whether it's NOCs, compliances, valuation, zoning, and each state, each institution having its own process creates a greater risk, creates a greater lack of certainty in this entire conversation of land, which is why it's becoming more and more relevant to talk about uniformity, to form about similarity in process as compared to just replicating models that are available globally, making it more context driven for the Indian subcontinent. I think that is a key parameter to making transactional a universally inclusive concept. And the most important thing for which all of us are really striving hard, the certainty element, the certainty, that confidence that any user, whether it's someone who's buying land for a residential purpose, which is building their dream home, or someone who's putting in years of effort, years of financial acumen that they have created to either start an industry or start a factory or industrial shed. The last mile that we have to actually cross is something we believe will be available in the years to come, primarily because of the way technology is evolving. Today, MSMEs do not have large legal pipelines, they don't have various layers of risk buffer ends, they don't have long financial runways. For them, every step in the journey where uncertainty is removed and certainty is brought into is an opportunity given to them, is actually us signing in for the 5 trillion economy, India 2047 story, and only way to create that actual story, whether it is the stakeholders who are selling the land or the stakeholders who are buying the land, is to bring in certainty, to make sure that transactions happen faster, happen more effectively, or the economic the economic growth, and also being able to bring technology to it. But the gap is in the last mile where the user is actually moving in to make these transactions possible. How useful is this technology that we have created? There are various GIS mapping systems that the union provides, and many people have also used it. But yet the last mile gap is still a sense of uncertainty. In fact, at GrabMac and Infra, we used this term called lead anxiety, and I think everyone sitting here will agree that the next generation coming forward is becoming more and more conscious of the decision of buying land or engaging with land, primarily because of this legal anxiety that they uh, want to avoid. They are believing that what if I buy this parcel and tomorrow I get stuck in a legal battle? So we also see that there is a hand that is law systems itself play, and we wish that our technology is not just limited to making land more effective, but able to integrate these other hands of that work in hand, which is the legal system itself, the legislative itself, that work when we digitize land, we strengthen governance, we bring PropTech into the entire ambit, and we create that stability that accelerates the MSME story and attracts greater global capital and truly contribute in the nation's development. Thank you all for your patient hearing and look forward to making a difference to this land development conference.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. It's a little awkward to be wearing the moderator's hat and also present, but I think I have to, in the interest of time, make sure that things move forward. So, next up, I will. Sorry, will we go? Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. Okay. Next up, we'll have Vrinder. Present. Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. I'm so glad to be here. This is the first a very knowledge-intensive conference that I've been attending. I've been a tech consultant in entrepreneur. I built restaurants before this, and land is a very interesting topic to me because I see the entire banking spectrum in the way the land as an asset class is sort of considered. So you have government, RBI, who is the keeper of trust, whereas you have, sorry, yeah, I will share, I will take you in the website. So essentially I was saying, I exactly see the way money sort of moves between people, between institutions. The exactly same thing happens in the way I imagine land as an asset class. So you have RBI, who is the trust keeper. Then you have banks, who are the efficiency providers. And they have the phone pays and the PTMs of this world, who are an experience layer. So you have trust, efficiency, and experience. And banking is pretty different today than it was a few years back. Similarly, you have government departments, banks and department, who are the trust keepers. You have folks like Kshitij, who are the efficiency providers, who are making sure that institutional work happens. Banks are able to sort of underwrite loans, and large institutions are able to sort of buy and sell land with some level of safety and security that's sort of kind of unknown to the consumer domain. So I am coming up with a business to sort of create the experience like in the land management. What that essentially means is that government brings documents, somebody does good diligence, and that's the infra layer of it, and then I take it to the masses, wherein I tell people, hey, it's safe to sort of, it's not as unsafe as it was, let's say, 5 years back to sort of own a land, because whether we like or not, looking at the sort of Maharashtra, the Odisha state that I come from, the sort of the registration revenues, people are buying and selling lands in large quantities. So I'm here to sort of figure out, can we sort of build a photograph land wherein people, without knowing a lot, can actually sort of understand their land documents, and then if there are some issues, they could get it fixed, and if they want to buy and sell, things happen without them needing much, because see, the way I imagine this domain is that, in my lifetime I will buy or sell.
So voice, gets. I think you can remove.
Okay, I'm louder. So the way yeah, okay. So the way I imagine this space is that people like me, or like most of common people, would buy and sell land maybe once, twice, thrice in a lifetime. So knowing all this, what is the EC, what is the sale lead, what is the entire spectrum of things is perhaps not integrative to them. And people are busy with things in general. Just as not many people understand FDIC insurance when they do FD, but they know that if things go wrong, things will be taken care. And there are some institutional level safety into place, and that makes sure that people like PhonePay can actually come and make sure money moves on a phone number. So I am trying to figure out that from maps or from a land document, can you collect all the documents together? Can you put a very touch and feel sort of rating on them? We sort of say that, hey, it is safe or unsafe. We are not trying to replace lawyers, so to speak. Then we are trying to see, if you do an early detection, you could actually channelize right help towards the problem, and then see if some institutional great guy can come and say, what, I'll help you buy, I'll help you sell, I'll help you manage. In a nutshell, I'm trying to build the full way of let's say, land documents. I'll have a small demo, maybe this will perhaps make things slightly clearer. It's actually deployed in Odisha. Invariably things go wrong with the news.
So they have
No, not really.
This is what happens with government systems also.
No, ma'am, we
We are here, so let's say things don't happen.
So essentially,
all the same parallel.
yeah.
Shared set of problems.
If you could see, this is the way we have sort of imagined, wherein you could actually get to know a lot about your land documents. Pretty easy to use site, wherein you could actually like basic things like sort of providing searches, or you could do multilingual search. And sort of pulling device. So it goes and sort of tries to get the documents. It's sort of analyzing it from a pre-trained game of prompts and lyrics. It's also going to get automatically maps and some revision documents.
Speak loudly.
So, so it's actually going, it did a lot of things in the background while you sort of gave it the khata number, it kind of went and got. This is a document, here is a sort of Alva document. It sort of says this property safety score is 9 out of 10 with some small things so that I could actually look at it. I'm just not reading it because, and then it sort of said this is your ownership details. And then it kind of broke down the entire document into this is your land ID details, these are your plot details. Actually, loading them. I think when I first saw my land document, I actually didn't know what is the size of it. At least today I know what is the size of the document in square feet. then basically map. I think it would have pulled automatically the job. It went and sort of looked for the benchmark valuations of the document. It's kind of explaining it like, this is the unit-wise value, this is the benchmark value of the plot, size into the benchmark value. And it sort of says that it's not an exact match because we could not find the benchmark valuation of your plot, and hence we used a proxy, and then sort of kind of telling what is the proxy that we used in that area. So that, the thing is, this is a lot of string sort of match based on AI, and all these data are in silos in government system. So sort of kind of making all of them match in itself is sometimes error prone. So we sort of say when we're not doing it, just sort of telling user, hey, this is sort of not that. And then we tell them what is the risk and safety analysis that we think that is there, two transfers that they need to go check and check the mutation records. And then next steps is we sort of think that these are the additional verifications that we should do. If you want to sort of move forward. And then you could actually go get services on this land, and you could then get your land monitored. You could get a code record check done, in which all the entities that we extract, like names of people, companies, and we sort of do an API code check to see if there are mentions, because I don't think property are getting tagged as being under litigation in Odisha. But my hope is in the jurisdiction, if you have a civil disputes, and if the data is in e-courts, we should be able to indirectly kind of put link to them saying that if the names mentioned in RORs are part of civil cases under the same courts where the land is, that means there's an indirect link to something being wrong and it needs further analysis. And you could actually do a lot of service requests. I think the most interesting thing that we are doing is this is concern expert, wherein, let's say, these are your properties that have been done kept. And you could do next, wherein you could actually pick a next tahsildar. Sort of, we're working with a lot of sort of retired officials who sort of add value here. Because a lot of this, I think, for consumerizing land, I would want to make sure that the land that is on my platform is seen by a tahsildar, a sub-registrar, and one ex-district court judge, and a competent revenue lawyer, and they give all pass. So this is pretty much like how I would imagine CRISIL would rate a bond. Like, if all court people say yes, I don't need to check again, because then this is a competent people who, with knowledge of this domain, would have told, and then if you sort of pick one of them and you will be timing, and then you could come recorded Zoom calls. That data is stored for posterity. So essentially, what will happen if you put all of this together? I imagine that my claim is if a land is with you, if it fetches 100 rupees. If a land is with me and I do all this structured data capture, data storage, and sort of data representation, I should be able to get you a 5% extra premium. So the consumer promise that I'm coming up to the market is that your land, peace of mind when you hold it, more money when you sell it. So I think all the trust and efficiency layers that ma'am and Shitish are building, because my platform, I am actually building a distribution business, but like PhonePe has built, because they are all UPI stack, right? So essentially, they are good at convincing consumers that, hey, you know what, it is safer to sort of transact money. This is something that sort of I am coming with. So, as I said, I have seen a lot of work happening on consumerizing land for people. There is a lot of work that is happening where people are talking about complexity and data issues. And I think for a common man, it's kind of scares him more than gives him comfort. So my plan is to also offer them on a store basis, where in cities you will find small stores, where we could just walk in coffee shops where you say, I have this land, I want to check this out, I want to do this, and things kind of happen to you. So my guess is when we make people are anyway buying and selling, if they buy and sell with confidence and comprehension, I think we will together as an industry discover a lot of other challenges. We may be sounding like blockchain issues, AI issues, but perhaps all that matters to people is, my name is misspelled across my Aadhaar and my ROR. Is there a way can you fix it? So my objective is to help people on that line and hopefully uncover more opportunities, more problems, and see if we could come and that will be all. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Very, very interesting. I think it's always great to see a demo, and I think we should watch this space because when there's a second-time founder, I think that itself is good history of actually delivering and building a product and a solution and delivering it in the market and scaling it. So I think this is very, very interesting.
Please, your seat.
So I'll go very, very quickly. And just give me 1 second.
I'm happy to listen to you.
In the interest of time, I'll try to take the moderators.
also want some space for Q&A.
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll be very quick. Okay, so so I'm the CEO and co-founder of a startup called Teal. We're trying to digitize the mortgage journey for various different lenders, starting with the property due diligence piece. We started about 7 years ago. We started taking stock of what has been happening in terms of the digitization, efforts of various different state governments. Central governments obviously have been pushing since the mid-80s to try to computerize registration systems, digitize records, and put out this information. Cadastral maps have been sort of tried to be digitized, for a long time. So we try to take stock and we see where things are in terms of this journey. And we realized that there, wasn't any centralized repository of any of these records. They sit in silos in different government departments. So, the sub-registrar offices for the registration, land record offices for land, court records for litigation, and municipal offices for property tax records. But when you have to give a diligence on title of a property, you really need to be able to look at all of these different government agencies to be able to figure out whether there's any encumbrance on the property or not, the title belongs to the owner and so on. Language was a big challenge, handwritten documents, translation, transliteration, all those things were quite an issue. So the mission we set out to build out for our company was to create an equivalent of a symbol for property, right? So a place where you can basically go enter just the address of the property and be able to get a quick enough, you could say, a check that says that the title is clear for this property, belongs to who the owner is, there's no encumbrance, no other litigation, and so on and so forth. So in a way, trying to bring together these different silos in a single place. There is a bit of a tech platform at the back end. We try to read all of these different types of documents in various different languages, take it from different sources and synthesize and condense them and link them and address them, because the only unique identifier for a lot of these different government agencies for a property ends up being just the address. So there's a lot of this string matching, NER, OCR, NLP sort of technologies. This is in the older generation of AI. Obviously now it is a lot easier, but we try to create that linkage, and a big part of the work that we do is the address algorithm that is able to synthesize the various different formats that addresses are entered in. Go ahead. Okay. Thank you. Our basic product is something called the Digital Property Search Report, which we are able to give
Bigger, because it is not visible from yours. I can't read it.
So 150, above 150.
Sorry. Yeah. So I'll try to keep it.
You just move it.
Yeah. So, so the basic product is something we call the Digital Property Search Report. This comes within a 3-hour maximum turnaround time, usually within a few minutes, where we require only the address as an input. Obviously, this is not there across India, it is there in 15 states now, because it depends on the level of digitization that has been done by the relevant state governments. So this is something that we hope that it can obviously expand to across the country. But there are key states such as Haryana, which is missing, Rajasthan, Punjab, and so on. So we sort of watch that space, and we try to hope that it can be done. But so far, a lot of states, Maharashtra has done a very good job. Gujarat has done an excellent job. Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Telangana, Andhra, and so on. States in the south have done a very good job in terms of digitizing and actually providing a lot of transparency in these records. I'll just expand the screen now, please. So yeah, so this is the coverage that we have so far for this current product. What this includes is we track about 9,000 different unique government agencies. So that includes about 2,500 plus different sub-registrar offices, 2,900 plus different courts, tribunals, the municipalities, local bodies in all of these different geographies, land record offices, the development authorities. So for instance, in Delhi, you have the DDA, or Noida, Noida authority. So then we have to look at, for instance, allotment letters, zoning, and so on, to be able to figure out whether in those geographies you have any kind of encumbrance that has been issued by the developer authority. So the languages that we also end up translating as a result are about 9 different regional languages. In the north, you actually also have a lot of phrases in Persian and old kind of phrases that are carried over from Mughal times. So we've had to create these data dictionaries that are able to transliterate those and figure out what is a name and what is not. So for instance, a Jalvayu Vihar should not get translated to a climate Vihar, which is something that happens if you put it in Google Translate today. So these kind of name entity mappings are quite important when it comes to doing this, and this is something even the current crop of AI sometimes struggles with quite a lot, right? So we have a complete product of the legal report that we call it, which is that when an advocate also signs off on that report, and that's a regulatory requirement for banks, this comes within a maximum of 24 hours of the receipt of the case. We have, we work with advocates across the country doing this. They help with other services as well, to be able to fulfill this. Same on the valuation side, which is that we have a valuer go and visit the property that is able to give a valuation estimate. This is an RBI requirement to have an IBBI certified valuer. This is something that the banks have very strict policies on, and we're trying to create a centralized platform which is independent of the borrower having an interface with the valuer, the bank also having value, to be able to reduce any kind of issues that come up with changing the valuation of the property. Overall, I'll say in terms of the requests that we have processed, so if I can just zoom, actually I'll zoom in the right section. Maharashtra actually is the biggest state that we work in. It's just the scale of the state. It has a very large volume of cases. There's a lot of demand, and there has been a lot of good digitization and a lot of good efforts that have been made in terms of the transparency of information and so on. Gujarat is next. Tamil Nadu also has done a very good job in terms of those cases. So one thing I'll say is that most of our cases are actually for affordable housing finance. So about 80% of the cases that we do are sub 8 to 10 lakh. Right, so this is really kind of and about 10% of the cases are sub 4 lakh, 2 to 4 lakh. So really, there's a lot of these cases that we see in settlements that are not strictly, you could say, on the complete legal end of the spectrum when it comes to title, but there is still a lot of action that is going on there in terms of particularly affordable housing finance, and things are need to be move forward when it comes to giving loans, and there's a demand and there's a need for affordable housing. So those are quite interesting examples. Overall, this is a comparison of the states, right, where we have in terms of the certainty of complete information, so the digitization, the extent of digitization that has been done. Maharashtra is at the top. This is a accurate data chart. This is not for the audience or so on, but we see Telangana also has done very well. Andhra, Gujarat also has done quite substantially well, and Karnataka, Tamil Nadu have done well. UP is actually a good surprise. It has made good reforms in the last several years in particular, and made a lot of information transparent and provided. There are other states that here which we haven't even included, such as Rajasthan, Punjab, which we don't such at this stage. But Haryana, as you can see, is still ways to go when it comes to completing the coverage of information. Overall, I'd say that we also ranked in terms of the history, how far back the records go, right? So there are actually several states, including Delhi, for instance, which have records from the 1900s onwards, which is really quite remarkable. And these are excellent initiatives to try and bring transparency into the system. So we see this trend actually improving quite a bit in terms of states going back in time and putting out information and digitizing and making that transparency more pursuing it more actively. So one thing I'll just say overall in terms of what the sort of policy lessons of this, right? So this is public information infrastructure in some ways, right? And we basically try to put out at least the basic level of information that only government can do, right? Which no one else can come into. I mean, this is the base layer on which other applications can be built, such as what Amrinder is working on, such as what other players they might innovate and build, that can then lead to greater use cases for let's say infrastructure companies, or builders, or even government itself, right? When they have to acquire land, when they have to build infrastructure and so on, right? So I think this is a good way to be able to segment the priorities of the different actors. And they say that this is something that only government can do and do it and not try to kind of build everything, because then you don't do anything. And so that's why it is important to be able to recognize the value that different players bring with the set of incentives that they have and the constraints also that they have to deal with, right, in their own context. Right? So what we hope over time will happen is that you have this base layer of the digitization of these records, on which then you can have computerization of new registration that is done. So a lot of states have obviously made great, Maharashtra has made great progress in terms of computerizing. So today you go to a sub-registrar in Maharashtra, it is done on the computer and it is updated that day itself in terms of the information. That's a fantastic progress actually, and other states also should try to make progress in that same way. This next is the role of the judiciary, which is obviously completely independent, but there needs to be a linkage given the number of cases in courts that are pending that have to do with property cases, to be able to link it to the property records, the registration records, land records, and so on, so that buyers have that transparency, other actors have that transparency, to do litigation on that property. And the last, which is sort of the real kind of, you could say pie in the sky at this point, is title insurance, which is that an insurer comes and underwrites the risk that there could be an issue with the title of this property. So the buyer gets indemnified that there would not be any past defect on that title, which is a system that works very well in countries like the US. You might buy a $1 million home for, and you may pay title insurance for $1,500, for instance. That's a one-time fee that you pay for a permanent indemnity against past title defects. It's a fantastic solution, really. And the only way that can happen is that you have enough density of this information, so you have that certainty that you can have an affordable retail market for title insurance that will help buyers, that will prevent them from losing their life savings and getting into litigation and so on. I think I'll stop there. One small thing I just want to say is, our team, we have 150 people that are working in Bangalore that are full time in 24-hour, 4 different shifts, 24 hours, and just processing these reports. And then we have about 600 to 700 different advocates that work with us across the country. So this is how we make it happen. So I just wanted to kind of point that out to give credit to them. And I'll stop now and maybe pass it on to Sir. So hopefully we're doing okay. We can move it here. I think I will come there. No, sir.
Good morning, everybody, and it's really exciting even in terms of managing the lands. So I have kept it in a different persona, like actually not in terms of talking what we have done, but talking more on digitizing the land governance where PropTech's role is required for transactional certainty, which is very important. So I'll go more on a subject matter rather than the product, but just to have an agenda, like we will talk about land systems, need, what is the need of this, what the change needed into the system, where are the problems and the confusions which happen today in terms of land transactions. What does it mean when we say transactional certainty is required for really survival of cities for that matter, I can say, and how new technologies and the example of what we have done in Mumbai can help in terms of bringing that certainty. Some sample framework which I thought of at the digital land governance. Steps for the cities to move from manual to digital and then of course future takeaways. So before getting into it, maybe an introduction about the company. Myself, I am Vijay Gupta, heading PropTech Engineers Limited. I founded this company with the vision of creating products and technology towards architectural, engineering, construction, and operations domains. We have built in, we are actually company listed in Bombay Stock Exchange and National Stock Exchange with 29 plus years of, I would say, young experience in this vertical, because this vertical has started taking technology very recently rather than the years which were there earlier. So we are working in 5 countries today, started from India and now we are taking our technology to US and Germany and various other places. We are a team of 550 plus people, and the focus is all towards the vertical, what we call as architectural, engineering and construction and operations programs. Till now, we have created 7 products, started from journey of structural engineering and my background with information technology. So we built a product called STRS, which was very popular in terms of structural analysis, design and drafting and multi-story buildings. But now this product journey actually has been stable. So basically, this was the first product of the country for the country for structural designing of buildings. And from there, the need arose in terms of construction permits, like say basically when we were building with municipalities, delivering with the structural designing, the necessity was that there is a different big pain area in terms of how the permits are issued. And that's where we thought of technology as to how we can bring a human intervention-free permitting system where we can check the plans automatically, map them to the building control regulations and tell you the regulations. This is the product which is started from Pune Municipal Corporation in 2006, and now today it is actually working at more than 1,500 cities in the country. We have given more than 30 billion square feet of permits through this product, and this is continuously growing as a number. So we today work with most of the urban local bodies, with the state governments for land reforms as well. Like basically, it is not just a permit now; it's actually permit is given onto the land. So it's very important that how land controls are happening. So I talk about them, and we work with multiple housing boards and various agencies like Maharashtra Industrial Development Corporations, where we regularize land, build infrastructures around the land, and so and so. And our products range are actually starting from plan to build and to operate and sustain. So we have worked from planning and designing to approvals to infrastructure management, construction process lifecycle management, and taking it to sustainability. Because today we have a need of energy management, we have need of sustainability in terms of safety and work provisions. So that's where we are taking the journey from plan, build, operate, and sustain. that's the journey about our products. So, leaving apart the products journey, basically, I will now talk about why land governance is very important. So, we still are following old systems which are actually created with British systems, but cities are growing very fast. And when cities are growing fast, this is very important that the systems are brought in. There is one plot, but on the same plot there are multiple versions. Multiple versions, when I say, the approvals are given in the local bodies, but the approvals are given on a land which is managed by the revenue department, and there are multiple records, and they are brought into the GIS system, but the GIS system has some different information than what is the approval which is given on the land. So basically, it's very important that if it is a one piece of land, and if it is recorded in different places throughout the system which is to be managing that land, it has to be single source of truth for that particular piece of land. And that's what is actually where the governance needs. It has to reset to seeing that one physical land has to be represented in a very, very uniform way. The data is unclear. It is a big consequence of that is there are basically a lot of legal issues in terms of when you sell a land to somebody, probably it is not what was committed, it is not what was told. So trust factors keeps going down, and that's where this is very important that the land governance comes in picture. So when we talk about where uncertainty enters into the land life cycle, it has actually three areas basically. One is who owns the land. This has to be proved in terms of the same plot shown in many records will not have different things. So the ownership of the land has to be very clearly identified. And that's very important. If it is, because we have 712 extracts, we have property records and all. These are actually, basically, madam, you know that Maharashtra has actually been very much ahead in terms of these records, but unfortunately we have worked with multiple states and there are very, very bad situations. So basically that's where the risk of ownership is very, very important, which has to be brought in. And where exactly is the plot? Basically we have done a lot of even digitalization in terms of surveys, and we have brought those data into cadastral maps onto the GIS, but still basically the plot at the physical location is not exactly either location could be different or there could be a difference into the dimensions of the plot, which are actually becoming the reasons for that. So maps don't match the ground, parcel lines different from the department's data, and actually areas and shapes are not consistent. Sometimes the polygons don't match with the ground. And what is allotted on the land is also important because see, we are demarcating lands for specific uses for the society. We have residential use, commercial use, industrial use, recreational facilities to be given on the land. The zonings are done. So that actually has to be classified very well, so that when we are talking about the permits, we give permits for the zoned land use rather than actually onto. So basically this has to be connected very well. And that's where we are working on the risk of uncertainty. Uncertainty comes from what is not. So from uncertainty, what we talk about transactional certainty, how can we define that? We have to have legal validation. I think we have been working quite a lot in terms of connecting titles and all these things. So legal validation is very important. Legal issues should be very nicely managed. Digital authentication is important. It is not just digitalization, but it should be authentication of this digitized data. Whether this is actually matching with the ground, it is not a small problem. We can put a drone, get the data and everything is fine, but actually in the land scenario, it's really physically should match. So that's a big problem. We have to do legal land surveys also besides the aerial surveys and all. And it has to be purposeful. So the technology, because land is a piece which is very, very sensitive in terms of managing it. So when it is digitally done, it has to be ensured that it cannot be changed by unauthorized use of that data. So that's very important from transactional certainty point of view. And it has to be clear and predictable, whatever could be challenged. If there are legal cases, this legal cases should also be very clearly identified. And the discretions and ambiguity should be removed. So very, very clear picture of what is it. Whether it is right, wrong, it is forest land or it is no use land or whatever land it is, it should be very clearly identified that this is what it is. And it should be predictable information. And that's what will bring certainty. When I'm doing a transaction onto a particular land piece, I know this is what I'm doing it for. And that will create a trust among the people who are transacting on the land piece. So that's where transformation is very, very important. And when we talk about the transformation, practically it cannot happen without technology has been adopted very significantly. And technology adoption is very, very important for the digital land governance. And basically, that's where we have been working for many years with adopting new and advanced technology. And technology also has been actually advancing itself for making it perfectly used for the purpose we have. Like we had a lot of regulations actually when we started our journey in 1996. That time even CAD technology was not so powerful. So we used to really build our own CAD systems and all. Today we have very, very significant advanced technology, so we have to transform to that level of adoption of technology. Technology, in fact, in the case of land, if I say GIS, drone and LiDAR, that's very, very important and in terms of extracting the data parcels and mapping them to digital form in GIS and making it work, then there has to be a digital trust layer because see, digital technology has a disadvantage also that there can be a fraud which can be easily played in comparison to physical documents. So we have been seeing there are frauds in money transactions because of net bankings and all these things, but we cannot avoid that. So we'll have to go to the technology, we can secure that. And that's where the technology has advanced itself in terms of bringing in blockchain as a technology so that digital tampering of the data is not allowed. And if it is tampered, it can be alerted very well. And that's where we have actually been trying to bring blockchain as a technology. And there should be predictability where AI has actually been becoming a boom for that, basically in terms of bringing in what can happen if this transaction is done very clearly, very visibly. And that's where predictive technologies and digital twinning, etc. is helping a lot. If I talk about automated rules where we have actually been working for last about now 20 years, basically that's where the rules are automated but rules interpretations are still difficult. Officer interpreting rule can be different from another officer interpreting the same rules, and that's a legal problem anyway. That's why two lawyers fight to each other today as well. So basically that's where, in fact, rules interpretations, uniform interpretation of the building codes and telling that this is what would be permitted after this piece of land is very important. Interoperable systems is actually important because the system of, when I talk even permits, permit is not just about giving permit of a building. Permit is about building a asset onto a piece of land, and that piece of land should actually be communicated in a very smooth and transactional way. And that's what is interoperable systems are required. You should be able to connect to multiple departments. Like when we are talking about permitting, and if I take about Mumbai case, there are 27 departments working together. So there are revenue departments, the airport authorities, there are water departments, there are railways, the lines are on the postal lines. So all of these departments will have their own governance systems, they will have their own ownership scenarios, their own demarcation of the lands. And when we are issuing a permit onto a building or on a piece of land, with all departments' land information has to be interoperable. And that's what is very important in terms of technology. Automations and citizen experience is equally in terms of digitalization, very important aspect. So if you talk about BMC case, the PropTech delivery transactional certainty is how we have got it. It's one digital land layer is what we are trying. Basically, from the different departments, we say that this land piece is going to be taught in the single way. We created machine readable PCR rules, etc., and that can actually be seen. Single window, no objection certificates. Faster, simpler processes. Oh, okay. So I will just take 2 more minutes. Faster, simpler processes is good. So basically, the impact of transactional certainty has to be for different stakeholders, developers, citizens, Mumbai people, and of course the departments, the revenue transactions. So framework which I can propose is digitizing the land governance in 5 areas. First is data foundation has to be very strong. Regulatory intelligence should be there. Process automation, of course, has to be done. But besides process automation, we have to see what are the redundancies which are currently into the system, so that when we automate the processes, we just don't computerize them. We first bring reforms into the processes and then computerize them. Integrity and trust layer will actually bring the transactional certainty significantly, and citizen experience will be excellent. So that is the framework which is where to work. And the transformation journey for the city will start. The transformation journey of land is daunting, and that has to be digitalized, that has to be integrated, that has to be automated, and it should become predictable. When I'm working on particular purpose for a land, the maturity of every advanced digital land platform has to be such that I should be certain and trustworthiness of that platform should be there in terms of usage of the land. With this, I think I would say that intelligence systems will have to have spatial intelligence. It has to go through the digital twinning systems where we can actually do physical systems on the digital platform and train it together so they talk to each other in a similar way. And that's something digital twinning is very, very important in that sense. And that is the future of urban land governance. When land becomes digital, cities become predictable. When rules become machine readable, decisions become transparent. And when approvals becomes automated, governance becomes trustworthy is what I can say. And it is the governance transformation. Governance transformation is what we can look at it from the top. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I will quickly jump to Ram because we have interest of time. Sorry to cut you off.
To see so that I can look at the screen here and
Just
So first of all, thanks a lot for inviting me and allowing me to participate in a very nice brainstorming. In fact, this has given me happy that you both are working in creating some good citizen experiences, and it is very much needed. It is the need of the hour because now any kind of development comes with the use of land, and unless and until you have land uh, in your project, you cannot go ahead. So it is the basic necessity now. Uh, so let me just explain. So I have only 4 slides. I'll immediately finish off. So I basically want to say that the land belongs to people, and we as state are just the administrators. We are just the custodian of the record of that land. But the land belongs to you, belongs to the society, and it is the society which has to be do the right participation for updating any kind of record. So whatever is being as of now done by Amrendra as well as Kshitij is creating citizen experience when a person wants to transact. So that want or that need has already been served. Now what we were talking on, the basic subject is what sir said, it is the use of property technology in digitizing the land governance, not the land citizen facilitation. So what I am thinking is when we are going to do digitization of land governance using the right property technology, we will definitely achieve the transactional certainty. And here we have a huge role of making people aware about how to keep their land records updated. I have given here a small example of citizens' responsibility. Now, I have been handling Maharashtra's record of rights and land records since, so I am in touch with this subject since around 22 years, and now I can with certainty say that out of 100 mutations that are happening, say in, for example, in Maharashtra, for a bigger understanding, so if there are 100 100 mutations happening in the record of rights, out of them around 70 are about heirship registration, where a person has died and his heirs are coming on the record of rights. Out of the 70 mutation entries, 35 mutation entries are so wherein the person has not died yesterday or 15 days before. He has died years ago. But now there is a need to transact, and that's why the person comes and now he says, "Arey, zameen to mere pardada ke naam se hai." Because they have not done the transaction. They are supposed to, if you want to do the registration or any kind of transaction, at least the land should be in your name. And that cannot be done by government. Because I have seen ex dies in Mumbai, right? But his property is in Ahmedabad or Solapur or say Haryana. How the person who is registering or issuing a death certificate to that person will know that this person is having 3 properties? Will you allow this under DPDP Act of getting the knowledge of what all properties you are owning? You cannot. So it is the responsibility of the owner or the person who is holding the land to make sure that the land record is continuously updated. This is the basis of everything which you do. When you are saying that we need to give the transactor a right information set, then the information set should be updated by the person who is interested in selling. Even if he is not interested in selling, he should have the ethics to update his record. So that kind of social understanding should be created in the society. Then only half of the part where the citizen is becoming responsible will be taken care of. This is what I basically mean to say. Agrawal sir is here. I will definitely like to understand what his opinion is, about this thing is there. Then I will also like to say, fortunately there were 2 presentations before me, and even sir also said that Maharashtra has done well. And I take pride in saying that Maharashtra is actually doing extremely well, and we are trying our level best to create transparent record of rights, create efficiency in the transactions, create efficiency in integrations. But we definitely have not achieved much. I can say we are at maybe 50 or 60% of the achievement, and you need to actually go ahead. So if we see all our 30 states and all the country, then Department of Land Resources and states are definitely taking efforts, and this subject is now very well understood by the policymakers as well as the execution agencies, that we need to work on this, because this is the basis of any kind of development. So we are trying to bring in uniformity in how the land records are managed, how the land records are administered. We are trying to modernize the record of rates as well as the cadastral maps, and there are multiple issues which we are facing. We are trying to bring in technology wherever it is possible. Then we are trying to integrate registration, mutations, land measurement, and of course the local authorities will give various permissions. So all these things we are trying to modernize, trying to bring in efforts so that all the advanced technologies are used for any kind of updation of records. So in this again, citizen facilitation is a totally a different, altogether different thing if you consider governance. So governance is one and citizen facilitation is on top of it. So Maharashtra, Gujarat, MP, Kerala, Karnataka, they are doing good in citizen facilitation. Other states have to actually capture a lot. Then there is a GIS mapping and online mutation system which we are having as of now, and we are trying to integrate both of them. So what we are thinking of PropTech as, so it's when it is going to enable the government, it should work for bridging the awareness and compliance gaps. So what you are doing. So you should basically make people aware that why they should visit your site, why they should come to you. What is basically required if a person wants to transact, if he wants to buy or sell his property, what he is supposed to first do. That there is a huge gap. People don't know. As of now, whoever is sitting here, I am very sure, at least 50% of the people don't even know the survey number of their own property, and it is not required as of now. But if we are talking about all the updations and all the things, then you need to know this. This should be in the syllabus. It should be in our first to till 10th. It should be included in our syllabus that this is a civic knowledge. You should have this. Then the guidance and reminders for citizens. Here you can work as an enabler and improve the transactional certainty. This is what my take is. So, and let me again go back to government's land administration systems. We are very rigid, but we are robust, because we are dealing something which is your property. We do not have any right over your property. We cannot say it was in the hands of X, now it is in the hands of Y. We cannot give that ease, because it is not our thing. It is your thing. We are just helping you to. We are standing there as a witness. We are not the actual doers. We are just witnesses, and we understand our role. So we have to be adopting technology very cautiously. We have to make sure that we are not making any kind of irreversible land records changes, because there is a huge discussion which is going on related to various drone technology uses, various kinds of GIS technology used for creation of very, very accurate georeferencing. My point is, you will do a survey, right? You will say that survey number 25 has 4 border points, and these are the georeference points. So you will set the whole country on it. Now you tell me how you are going to do the settlement. Because the survey which was done, say in for Maharashtra, it was done in 1940. Now the actual position is totally different. So should we open the Pandora's box and tell people, no, in our record it is like this? So we have to understand where and how we should use technology. We always talk about advances in making the survey. No one talks about how to do the settlement. And many will agree with me that when we are talking about settlement, there are failed attempts by multiple states. There are governments which are toppled down because of this. So we have to be using technology highly cautiously. This is my understanding of it. And we have tried to bring in governance. Maharashtra has pioneered with an expression of interest, wherein we have invited all the corporates. We took a huge session Pune. We called IBM, TCS. There are multiple big companies, L&T, Mindtree, Mahindra Tech. There are various companies which attended that session. And in that session, we basically told them that yes, we are open. We will explain you what we do. You come up with various technological solutions. We will understand them and let us work together on creating something which is definitely better than what it is as of now. So we have already in the process, we have started doing that. So this is the way forward. What as per my understanding, we have to integrate cadastral maps, land records and registration. We have to automate the citizen alerts. We have to make a user-friendly mutation process. We have to bring in tools for dispute prediction. We have to use a transparent tamper-proof record of right. Here I can say we have done it for Maharashtra. Combined technology, citizen participation and administration. And PropTech is to simplify and build trust, but it cannot do it alone. It has to do it with the current system and definitely seek feasible and responsible solutions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. I think we have time for one question because we are vastly over time. So, if anyone has a question,
I just have one question of you, ma'am. I mean, you are digitizing and you are bringing everything, say, for the private citizens. But what about government's own lands? Are they properly inventorized? Are they
Sir, I am
properly
awarded by Government of Maharashtra for this.
Oh, wonderful.
I have been awarded with the Arun Bongirwal Award. I have created land dashboard, which is being used by the policymakers and collector and above system, wherein we have created a whole dashboard where you can check any kind of government land from percentage till the actual record of right with the map. So we have created.
Wonderful, thank you.
I think we'll have to call the session and get it back there. So, thank you so much,
Thank
everyone,
you so
for
much.
coming, and thank you to all the audience.
Very much, very much. And I'm very happy that everyone presented different. That's kudos to you.
And then all presentations were very good.
I would like to have all the presentations. In fact, I wanted to speak on every single presentation. Like some have stopped myself.
We could have done a 2-hour session.
I think overall
So he is working on laws. He's working on laws.
it's a different issue.
लाइव स्ट्रीम होने 20% बैटरी
Trying to interpret.
अच्छा मेरा फोन हाँ थैंक यू
I think I finished. Sir, where have you been before?